Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also our beautiful country. That is me, not you. Excuse me for a second. I apologize. As we get in here, guys, we got to talk about something that is breaking. We've got to dive into exactly what is happening around this whole DOJ deliberative body, gun rights restoration. When you get in here, make sure you got 5x5 audio and videos coming through strong, because we got to dive into some stuff. Because the mainstream media is jumping all over this story, and we really have to figure out exactly what's going on. Excellent. All right. Video and audio is good. Let me dive right into this, guys, because something about this, it's just setting off my antennas. Okay, we're going to walk through the entire thing. On one side, there's good stuff. On one side, there's questionable stuff. On the other side is why in the actual F did we not hear about that? Okay. So here's the backstory as you guys are filtering in here. We've all been waiting on the DOJ and the Attorney General to decide if she's going to decide today if it's going to be the day where she puts forward her recommendations for the 2A orders. She's late. We all know it's late. Okay, that is what it is. However, there's some reports circulating now through the New York Times and also MSNBC and CNN that there's this new deliberative body in the Attorney General, at the Attorney General's direction inside the DOJ, which is a restorative body to the 2A rights. Now, there are some in our camp that are extremely excited about it, and there are some that are mum's the word. But the thing that's interesting about this is the nuance of what we're talking about. I hit it in the short that I did earlier this morning, but the big question that I have right out the gate, as you guys are filtering in here, if this was something that would be a pro-2A decision or a pro-2A movement or something that could be framed as pro-2A, why would you not announce this as something that we are doing in a very broad scope, very broad-reaching announcement? Because this could be perceived as extremely positive, right? I don't understand why this was never mentioned, and we had to find out about it through the New York Times being upset about Mel Gibson, okay? Let me walk you through this real quick, because again, you know that little thing in your brain where your antenna starts picking something up weird? Let me walk you through this, because there's pros, there's cons. Like I said, let's get into it. Let's just dive into MSNBC, and I apologize in advance for showing you Chris Hayes. I don't like this guy, but the person that Trump fired or the DOJ fired is on this show. All right, let me get into the introduction of how the media is framing it, and then I'll show you what's actually happening, because again, there's a lot of nuance here.
On Friday, the Department of Justice pardon attorney, that's the senior government lawyer in charge of evaluating and processing petitions to be pardoned, was fired. Hardly any notice. First glance, it looked like there was probably a story there, and sure enough, there was. Here's the headline. DOJ official says she was fired after opposing the restoration of Mel Gibson's gun rights. The pardon attorney, Liz Oyer, said she was told, quote, Mel Gibson is a friend of the president, and that should be justification enough to restore his gun rights. When she didn't go along with the recommendation, she was fired.
All right, so that's exactly how you would expect the left-wing media to cover this. Trump's friend wanted something, Trump abused the governmental power, and then he got what he wanted, and he fired the woman. That's exactly what you would see the left-wing do. That's not the story here. They're focusing on the Mel Gibson thing. But what's funny is they've inadvertently revealed something that, again, we did not know about on the pro-2A side that Bondi did through the AG's position in the DOJ. All right, again, there are green shoots of freedom on this, but there's also very interesting concerns because there's no details that have been released to us. Okay, let's just keep going. I've got the timestamp that I've got to show you guys here because this is where it gets a little odd. So we're going to go to 152, and if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. You know that, or you don't know if you're new. If you're new, you know, what you're about to know, that I always put the links and the sources right down there in the description. Every single video I do. It's so that you guys can get the information and spread it and be more knowledgeable what we're talking about. All right. This is the woman who was fired by reportedly Trump, okay, because Mel Gibson. But listen to what she actually reveals here, because this is where it's interesting. It's not as clean and cut as we're getting all gun rights restored, okay? Just listen to this.
I was tasked a few weeks ago with joining a working group in the department that brought together multiple offices within the Department of Justice in order to launch a process to broadly begin restoring gun rights to Americans who had lost their rights to possess a firearm because of a criminal conviction. this is a project that I understood was a priority for the Attorney General, and I was told that this project was going to be centered in the Office of the Pardon Attorney, which was an entirely new workflow for us, not something that we had ever done before.
Okay, so again, this is about 4 minutes of content we're about to break down because it's very important. If this is being done through the AG and the DOJ, that would mean it's on the enforcement side, or in this case, the pardon attorney. So that means you're going down the executive branch of the power of the pardon. You're not going down the legislative branch of, hey, let's get these things revised. If you're a nonviolent felon, you should have your gun rights restored, etc. Right? So the route is going the pardon route. Okay, well, that again, the green shoots of freedom piece there. That is a positive step in the right direction. But that's not correcting the problem. That's remedying individuals on an as-needed basis. Right, so you're going down the clemency road. You're not going down the fix the problem in the system. That's a very important observation. Now, if this is a priority for the Trump DOJ and through Pam Bondi and the AG, I'm for it. I'm go team. Positive direction. I like positive direction. However, you have to understand what we're actually talking about here. This is not a broad-based AG-driven initiative that's going to restore all gun rights across the board from a legislative infringement or an executive infringement. This is a on as-needed basis for clemency through the presidency, the executive powers. Okay, that's why this is so important, and this is why you have to dive into the details, because the nuance here is the payoff. Let's keep going, though, because, again, as we're talking about this, listen to what starts to come out. Okay, again, DOJ didn't tell us this. This is from MSNBC.
And was it like just a bunch of people in a spreadsheet, or was it like, hey, here's Mel Gibson?
So I was told that we were working toward establishing a process that all Americans who were prohibited from possessing a firearm would have access to. And the initial request of my office was that we identify a group of candidates who we thought would be suitable for the Attorney General to grant this relief to in connection with making an announcement of the broader program. So what I did when given...
Okay, so hold on one second. I don't want to interrupt the point, but this is important. If we're talking about a broad-based program that people can apply to if they have not had their gun rights, or they've been disproportionately affected, or they've been targeted, or they've lost their gun rights, I'm down for a broad-based program. But again, why is that not being talked about? Why is that when this first task force was first established, why was it not brought to our attention? Because we could drum up a ton of support for that. It seems like a low-hanging piece of fruit. And now she's saying, the woman who got fired, that there's going to be this broad-based program announcement coming. What? Okay, again, let's keep going. I don't mean to interrupt her, but that's important. If it's broad-based and there's an open application process, that's a positive step in the right direction. But what about legislative? Again, make it permanent, not temporary.
And that assignment is I looked to the pool of individuals who had applied for presidential pardons and who my office had vetted for consideration of a presidential pardon. We extensively vet people before recommending them to the president for a pardon, because we know that one consequence of receiving a pardon is that you're able to legally purchase a firearm. So when we vet someone for a pardon, we conduct a full background investigation of the level that would be required to gain a top secret security clearance.
Okay, skirt. Here's the part where it starts to get a little murky. If you're talking about putting a broad-based program or process in place for everyone to apply to get their gun rights back, do we need something for someone to apply to get their process right? Maybe based on bureaucracy, but shouldn't there be a legislative process where it's black and white, not based on a determination of someone like this? That's where this gets really, really murky. Now, the next piece to this, a top secret level clearance background check to get your gun rights back? Top secret? Okay, we're getting kind of into the concern level of the weeds here. Again, the green shoots, I don't want to stomp on them. But if we're talking about the process being a top secret clearance level to get back gun rights that were taken to you on, for example, a non-violent felon approach, not even considering the violent felon, I'm talking about the non-violent felon approach, where does this leave the voting rights? Literally, we are getting into a murky quagmire here, which is going to be a thing. Try pitching the idea that you can get your voting rights back if you get a top secret clearance. Guys, this is where it gets really, really concerning. All right, let's keep going, because they've got numbers they're about to bring forward.
Was Mel Gibson one of those people that you had identified?
He was not. Mel Gibson has never applied for any type of relief through my office, but we were able to identify 95 ordinary Americans who had applied for pardons, who had been waiting years to be considered for that relief, and who have been extensively vetted. All of these folks had in common a number of things, including that their underlying crimes of conviction were nonviolent offenses. They were minor offenses. They were offenses that happened many, many years ago, in all cases 20 plus years ago. And these are all individuals who had demonstrated by interviews with neighbors and employers and family members and others who know them that they have been outstanding citizens since the time of their conviction. Mel Gibson was not.
Okay, guys, again, we're getting into a very concerning familiar quagmire, all right? Does that sound familiar? Particularly the part where she just said with the interviews with neighbors, the interviews with friends, the interviews with family. Does this sound familiar? Because if it sounds like red flag laws in the far left bastions like New York or California or Minnesota, or go the other route on that, if it sounds like your permit procedural process to get a gun right in a blue bastion, that's because it's the exact same language. Again, if you're talking about 95 people, and of that list, she's about to tell you how many people were actually finally considered about it, 95 people after a 20-year time span where they were nonviolent crimes, they were minor crimes, they interviewed their family, friends, and neighbors, and they're going to get a top secret background level check for all those criteria. That's concerning. Again, the green shoots of freedom. I'm for the green shoots. I like the direction. But the details that she's saying right now, wow. And some of you even picked it up right here. This is a lot. Okay? Now, let me show you the final numbers that she went, because we got even more information. I do not care about Mel Gibson. There's a deeper underlying point.
Among those individuals who we identified.
So how does Mel Gibson enter the workforce?
I don't care.
Hey guys, Toby Mathis
come
here,
on.
and
What
the
is
question I
that?
get all the time is,
Toby Mathis. I don't know who you are. Okay.
So what happened was I was asked to put together a memo for the Attorney General summarizing the cases of 9 of the 95 individuals that
9. Did you hear that number? 9. So of all Americans, the restorative body that is going down the executive road for pardon power and clemency is officially 95 and winnowed down to 9. That's 10%. So I'm down for a process to be established, but that process cannot look like this, because this looks like New York, California, Illinois is what this looks like. You guys can let me know what you think in the chat. Like if I'm way off base, you guys tell me I'm way off base. But I like the initiative, like right out the get of the idea, the overly broad idea. But on the execution of this, Trump executive pardon power, the DOJ putting together all of these different pieces who are 95 individuals, winnowed down to 9 people, and then you have a top secret background check. You have to go down a road of interviewing your friends, family, and neighbors, and it's got to be over 20 years ago. I mean, like, guys, that's a lot. Okay, let's keep going.
my colleagues and I had identified. They had whittled that 95 down to 9, and they asked me to write a memo to the Attorney General recommending that these would be suitable candidates for her to grant this relief of restoring their firearm rights. And I was comfortable doing that with those cases because I had a great deal of information about those 9 people and had already recommended that they were suitable candidates for a presidential pardon. So Mel Gibson did not enter the equation until after I sent the initial draft of my memo to some officials within the Office of the Deputy Attorney General. They received my memo and they sent it back to me with the direction, please add Mel Gibson to this recommendation.
Okay, fine. Mel Gibson. Woo! All right. Listen, guys, here's the bottom line. That's all I really wanted to talk about because now they're going to focus on Trump and Mel Gibson and all that kind of crap, and it's stupid. All right. If you look at this in summation, you now are going directly down an executive route. You're not going down a legislative route. You're aiming towards a Trump pardon power or clemency through the DOJ, through multiple different groups, talking about a restorative body. But then after you're on that list of 340 million people in the United States, the list comprised of 95 people. And then from those 95 people, it goes down to 9, who then are background checked and vetted up to top secret clearance level. And then they have interviews with their family, friends, and neighbors. And you have to meet certain criteria of what you did, when you did it, how you did it, what was involved. Guys, yeah, it may be a correct assessment that there's a restorative body and there's a big restorative process coming along down the line. But when you're looking at all of the details that they just said in this, I've got some concerns. Again, I'm down with the green shoots of freedom. I'm down with the idea of giving people an outlet to do this. I'm down with correcting the issues which put people in these positions, like legislatively. But when you're talking about this, guys, you can let me know what you think, but I do have concerns. And we're going to follow this a heck of a lot more because there's a lot here. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Please send this out so we can get some information on this and spread some attention as well, because I don't know why they haven't told us. I'm just saying. That's what I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.